Thank you for accessing the Advanced Education Note Timeliness dashboard. This video will walk you through the features of the dashboard. The purpose of this project is to provide you information about how often you are not entering notes on the date of service or business day after. Our goal is to have all notes entered on the date of service, but the next business day is considered to be an acceptable time frame. When you log in, you will see your name at the top. This is a demo provider with fake data for training purposes only. You will also see in the top right the time frame being considered in the dashboard. At any given point in time, this dashboard will always show you information for the past 13 months. This training shows static images only, but the dashboard is meant to be interactive. Almost everything in here can be clicked on in order to toggle between display options or to provide more in-depth information. This panel on the left shows you your own personal metrics for the past 13 months. The total encounters line shows you how many patients you've seen and treated during this time frame. Encounters without a timely note shows you for how many of those visits that a note was not entered on the date of service or business day after. The third row of the panel shows you that information as a percentage. The panel in the middle gives you more detailed information on how often your notes were not timely over time. You'll see two graphs here. On top, you have a bar graph with gray and orange bars. The gray bars show you how many patient encounters you had in that month. The orange bars within the gray show you how many of those encounters did not have a note entered on the date of service or the business day after. When you click on the bars for each month, you will see in the live dashboard that the table below the graph that is called Status of Charts Without a Timely Note will change to show you information for that month only. The bottom graph, the blue line graph, shows how your overall performance on note timeliness has changed over time. This shows the cumulative percentage of notes that have not been timely since the beginning of the date range shown. When you are in the live dashboard, you can click on the blue circles labeled with eyes on the left of the graphs to remind you how these graphs should be interpreted. The graph on the right of the dashboard shows you how your note timeliness compares to your peers in your program. You can find your own name next to a colored bubble, but you'll see that the other bubbles have been anonymized. You can see where your bubble fits in with everybody else. The x-axis shows how many patient encounters you have had in that time frame, and the y-axis shows you your percentage of those encounters that had a note that was not entered on time. This type of graph, called an analysis of proportions graph, takes into account how many patients you've seen during the time frame and then can make statistical comparisons whether or not you've seen 20 patients or 200 patients. This graph also shows you how you compare to the system mean, or how everyone in your program is doing as a whole. You can see in this fake data, this program's system mean as of June 2022 was 12.9%. Meaning 12.9% of all patient appointments with any provider included here did not have a note entered on time. Now look at the legend on the bottom left-hand corner that shows you the three different colored bubbles and what they mean. These colors indicate how you are doing compared to the system mean. If you are a green bubble, that indicates that you are performing statistically lower than the system mean, which means that you do better on average at getting your notes in on time. So you want to have a green bubble. Blue bubbles mean that you get your notes in on time about the same as the system mean, where you are about average compared to how the rest of the residents in your program are doing. Orange bubbles mean that you are performing statistically higher than the system mean, or you generally get your notes in on time less often than the average resident in your program. In summary, this graph can show you statistically how you compare to your peers and how you compare to your program as a whole. The table in the middle of the dashboard is your work list and shows you the status of notes written for all patients that you've provided treatment for and drop a treatment code. You'll notice that all dates display as January 1st, 1900, and all of the chart numbers show up as X's. This is an effort to protect patient information. Look in the bottom right-hand corner of the dashboard. You'll see a bright yellow box that says, "Click yes to show PHI on the dashboard." Change the toggle from no to yes. Now that you have chosen the option to display PHI, you'll notice that the dashboard has changed. All PHI is now showing, including treatment dates and chart numbers. This is a fake provider, but it was made based on real patient data. So for here, we are showing fake chart numbers but we left the months and dates as X's for this training. But the real dashboard will show real dates. This panel shows all of the treatment dates and chart numbers that are being included in this dashboard. You can use this section as a way to see the status of the notes for each of these encounters and take action as necessary. See the legend to the left of the table. For each patient encounter, you will see either a blue check mark, an orange half circle, or an orange square. A blue check mark means that the note was entered and it was entered on time. An orange half circle means that eventually a note was written, but it just wasn't entered on time. The orange square means that we cannot find a note that is attributed to this encounter in the past 30 days. Orange squares will turn to orange half circles when a note is eventually entered for this patient encounter. The fifth column in the table calculates how many days have passed between the date of treatment and the date of note entry. If it says null, it means a note could not be found within 30 days of the date of treatment. The sixth column shows you when that note was approved, and the seventh column shows how many days have passed between the date of note entry and the date that the note was approved. If it says null, it means an approval was not found for that note. The dashboard's query can detect notes and match them to the appropriate date in 3 different ways. First, if you right-click on the treatment code and enter a new treatment note, it will link the note to the specific treatment on the back end. Second, you can enter a note by clicking on the plus sign on the right and manually entering the date of service. Third, our query looks to see if there is any other notes within 30 days of the treatment date in order to try to give you credit for any note written that might not have been dated appropriately. If you enter notes any of these 3 ways, the dashboard will be able to detect that there is now a note for this encounter. If not, it's very difficult for our query to recognize which note goes with which appointment after 30 days. If a note is written but more than 30 days after an appointment and not dated as the date of treatment, your note for that encounter on the dashboard may stay as an orange square forever. There is a filter to the right of this panel that allows you to toggle between different views. You can see all of your notes, just the encounters with no notes in the past 30 days, or just the notes that were written later, or all notes written on time. If you plan to use this dashboard to help with identifying and entering missing notes, the best option to choose is the view that shows only the encounters with no notes within 30 days. The last graph on the dashboard is a density plot. This shows you a plot of how long it takes to get your notes in on the x-axis by how long it takes to get your notes approved on the y-axis. The more intense the color of the cluster, the more notes fell into that combination of time to note and time to approval. Essentially, you would want to see a cluster of dots in the bottom left corner of the plot, indicating that it took a few days from the date of service to get your notes entered and a few days to get your notes approved once written. Blue dots indicate that the note was entered on time, and orange indicates a note that was entered late. Hovering over each dot gives you more information. You can see here that this demo provider has a few notes that took over 50 days to get entered, but were approved relatively quickly. More often, you see that this provider usually took less than 25-ish days to get their notes entered and often had notes approved mostly within 20 days, with one taking over 30 days to get approved. You will be receiving an email once a week with a snapshot of the dashboard. Look for emails from tableauprod@uth.tmc.edu. The emails will only include a picture of what your dashboard currently looks like with no ability to click around, but you can click on the snapshot to be taken directly to the live interactive dashboard. You can log in using your regular UT ID and password. Please note that to access the dashboard off campus, you will need to be connected to the VPN. The data in the dashboard refreshes every morning, and you can log in to your dashboard anytime. And you can do that by either clicking on the image in one of your emails or using the link that has been provided to you. The default setting in the dashboard is to not show PHI because of these emails that get sent to you. So when you click on this image to go to the live dashboard, make sure to change the Show PHI setting to Yes in order to see the chart numbers and dates. There are a few last features to note. At the very top of the dashboard, you'll see 3 tabs. The first is your main page that we've been looking at this entire time. you'll see two other tabs. Click on the second tab to go to the About page. The About page gives you more information about how the dashboard was created and the data and definitions involved. Click on the third tab to go to the Navigation Tips page. This page summarizes this training video and gives some reminders about what each graph means. As you are working through this dashboard, if you see something that looks incorrect to you, for example, if a patient is listed that you didn't see, please contact your PCC first who can look into it. They will best be able to detect if there were errors made during data entry. But if they can't figure out the issue, please contact our dashboard support team via the email address provided at the bottom of the dashboard, and we will be happy to look into the problem. Feel free to contact us if you have any other questions about how to use this dashboard, or even if you have ideas for improvement. The goal of this dashboard is to help make improvements in the timeliness of our documentation, and we sincerely want this to be a useful tool for you, and we welcome all feedback. Thank you.